I think we cleared it up. So we're going to pin this as usual. Thank you all for returning. Much appreciated. So we request. Hello.
Hi. Okay.
So how you doing?
Good.
Beautiful. This is much better.
Way better. Yeah.
All right. So let's small talk. Give people a couple minutes to come on, and then we'll continue
Okay.
from where we were.
Okay.
Thank you, Sarah Sawdust.
Thanks.
Is there like a Sawdust franchise?
It works. The name works.
So let's just get into questions. We'll get back into the questions, and then from there to your. Can you hear me?
Now I can. For a second, I lost you, but it was really brief. Yeah.
All right. Word or phrase overuse?
Phrase I overuse. Phrase. I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure which one would be exactly.
No more. I don't know.
Maybe it's that. Yeah.
What is your least favorite to do?
Least favorite thing to do. Writing emails is pretty tough, stressful for me.
Yeah, we all have that in common.
Yeah.
What is your most favorite thing to do?
Woodworking, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. What is the one thing you would change about your spouse or significant other?
Is he watching this right now? No. I think that's a tough question. I guess he's pretty soft spoken, so I wish he would be more speak up for himself a little more.
You hear that, little girly man?
Oh my God. Yeah.
So what would he say about
What he changed?
Yeah.
Probably a bit of a longer list, but one would probably be I'm a little impulsive at times. Yeah.
Okay. All right. What was your favorite concert?
One of them, like probably 10 years ago, I went to Marfa, Texas, and some tiny venue, and I was going to see Explosions in the Sky, but the opening band ended up being just incredible. And that was just a real, like, intimate, like, small venue, and yeah. That's
Okay. Who would you travel cross country with on a motorcycle?
Yeah, my fiance for sure. He can ride a motorcycle, and he's pretty fun to travel with, so.
All right, cool. Do you have any childhood nicknames?
My dad used to call me Salamander. Amanda or whatever, yeah.
All right. When was the last time you cried?
Yesterday.
Why?
I struggle a lot with
If it's too personal, you don't have to. Your call.
Oh no, it's just anxiety in general. Yeah, I get really bad social anxiety, so sometimes it's a little like overwhelming for me.
Now, what causes social anxiety?
For me, it's um just overthinking conversations, and I push myself now. Like I probably wouldn't even do this, even a live video in normal circumstances. I tend to overthink a lot of conversations and ways I interact with people. But yeah.
I, I, I find, okay, first of all, I overthought this for the longest time. And the crazy thing was, even in overthinking, I chat with 20 of the first people to do it and said I would do it and got their opinion. So even then, I was getting support about doing it. And once they agreed to do it, I was kind of like, okay, I got to do it now. But I was tiptoeing initially.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of us have issue with it because I noticed some people who do and they won't post. And that used to bother me, but I'm like, because I was like, the purpose of coming on is so your people, but they don't post it because they don't want that people.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we all deal with issues.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a constant battle. But I feel it's important. So that's why I push myself too, is I've never gotten negative feedback from other people necessarily. Um, it's just myself. So I always try to keep that in mind.
Yeah, we are our own worst and hardest critics.
Hmm. Absolutely.
What impact do you want to leave on?
Um, I guess for what I do, just like we were just saying, I feel like it's important to kind of um, even though I don't necessarily enjoy it, stuff like this, I do think it's important to do because it inspires other people. So you kind of have to hold that space. So I
You know,
just hope it's encouraging others to do that same thing.
yeah, because you don't know who you touch along the way.
Hmm.
What was the most difficult thing about your journey? How did you overcome
I feel like I'm in a bit of that right now, actually. Um, I just sort of like hit this wall of, um, I feel like apprenticing and has been super helpful to my journey, but also the expectations I put on myself has kept me from making my own things for a really long time. And so I just sort of hit this wall of, well, I'm too afraid to make anything because I'm too afraid to show that to people. And so I've been lately just really pushing myself and kind of ignoring that voice in my head, the critical. Yeah. So,
it? No, and I completely get that. And like what all of us, you just got to put yourself out there.
mhm. Yeah, that's been the hardest thing for me, is kind of pushing past that self-doubt and yeah, being super critical of yourself and to the point of not doing anything at all.
And I guess to in your defense, you also work alongside someone who's pretty darn fantastic.
Yeah, there's pressure that comes with that, I feel like. And yeah, Phil and I have talked about this, and he's like, yeah, he understands it. There's a bit more pressure, and I think people have higher expectations because of it. So it kind of has held me back a bit. But ultimately, yeah, I've just been like, well, it's not going to be perfect, and the only way to get better is to keep doing it. So,
And the whole purpose of you being there is to learn to become better.
yeah.
So if you're not doing stuff, then you're defeating your purpose of being.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any Black friends?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a few. I think I grew up in El Paso, and I feel like El Paso's a lot more diverse than here in Austin.
Crazy, right?
It was a jump. Yeah. But yeah, I have a few. Yeah.
Do you often see people of color?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Do you often see people of color in your industry?
Not often enough. Yeah.
Okay. Who would you most like to have a conversation with?
Aspen Golan. Have you seen her work? She's, I love her
Yeah, she's a boss.
at everything. And then teaching on top of it, she's an excellent teacher. So
She's a
I'd
boss.
love to like, pick her brain.
She was supposed to come on, but it was probably during the pandemic, and I was trying to get started, and I was still moving, and I kept putting along the date, and she ghosted me.
Oh no. I'll have to tell her.
I think she was really saying, dude, when you get it together, call.
Oh my God.
Would you travel to the moon?
Um, I don't know. I don't think so. Okay, I feel like there's enough for me to explore down here.
Yeah, I about that. I don't think that I would.
And yeah.
The uncertainty, but makes me say no.
Right.
What was your best apprentice move?
Ooh. Um, I think uh, jumping on the opportunity to assist classes, because that's a big learning curve, and you kind of have to like act like you know what you're doing. Really step up, you know. That was a big push for me, but it was a really good one. With social anxiety too, that's a it's a challenge.
Yep. What was your worst apprentice move?
Um, I think early on I was part-time with Phil, and I mean that was also because he didn't have full-time work, but I was juggling so many jobs at the beginning that I wasn't as focused and didn't take advantage of it as much as I should have in the very beginning.
Yeah, that's the thing about opportunities. It's like if you don't get it, you won't get it.
Hmm.
It's the same thing about when we're in class. If,
Yeah.
and it's kind of crazy because you really get the value of school until you're out of school.
Yeah. It's kind of, yeah, that hindsight, right?
Yeah. How many U.S. cities
Ooh, I don't know if I could count that.
have you been to all the states?
No, no. Probably 6 states or so. I'd like to travel a lot more. So
So you've only been to 6 states.
I'm guessing there, but it might be more like 10, but it hasn't been a lot. So yeah,
Okay. Do you own a passport?
I don't. I'm working on that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I mean, Texas is a big place. You just don't move around Texas.
Yeah. It doesn't, yeah, you don't get very far in Texas very quickly.
Kind of the same damn thing, but the big state.
It's huge. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we're done with the questions. So now we're going to give you the floor. You can start with, I guess, from high school up until now, or wherever you want to start, of the things that led you to where you are.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think high school is a good starting point. So I was a creative writing major in college. Um,
Where'd you go to school?
UTEP, UT El Paso. Um, so yeah, I was on I had grants and school paid for. I moved out a week after high school.
Why so?
It was I had a tough uh, childhood, so it was pretty much um, necessary pretty quickly. So yeah,
I,
you. I'm sorry.
I did the same.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was
So
out.
it was necessary, and I was a waitress, trying to pay my bills and stuff, and yeah, it was a mix of, just I was completely exhausted and couldn't really balance school and all these new thing paying for everything. So I, after about a year, I stepped out of college and was waitressing and bartending for about 5 more years. And then my dad's also a woodworker. So um, I was bartending and I wanted to make a muddler, like for mojitos and stuff. And I was like, I wanted to see if he'll let me use his lathe. And that was my first project ever. And it, so, he taught me how to do that, but um, I do way better in a school setting. And so I just kind of looked online. I was like, what kind of woodworking schools are there? In Austin, a community college popped up. And so my boyfriend at the time and I packed up and moved to Austin.
Wow.
Yeah, I just went for it. And so I went through the program there. It's about a year-long program, and that's where I met Phil. So yeah, he was an instructor of mine, and his mentor was too. And yeah, so I mean, as soon as I started classes, I was like, this is it. I love this. This is what I want to do. And um, they saw that his mentor was my instructor first, and um, he could tell I really loved it, and I was dedicated to make this my career. So by the time I took a class with Phil, uh, I mean, I was already dedicated. Like I knew that this was what I wanted to do. And about 6 months after I got out of the program, Phil texted me, "Hey, do you want to come help at the shop on weekends?" And I was like, absolutely. I'll just jump on that opportunity. So yeah, that was about 3 years ago.
So when you first entered the program, what did it look like? How many people did it have? What was the breakdown of men and women? What was that?
Um, my first ever class was a cabinet making class, and it wasn't the greatest example because there were 3 people in the class and I was the only female. Um, then as the program went on, I'd say it's about 25% women. So yeah, it's about 10 people per class, and 25% or less. But as the program kind of went into more advanced, it seemed like the percentage, like it's even started to even out a little more, not quite even, but yeah, maybe 30%. There's a little bit of a jump towards the end. But I mean, I feel I had a little bit of pushback at the beginning with classmates, but the instructors there were really good, and they kind of made up for that. This is kind of a like I'd take a class and the instructor would say something, and the guy next to me would be like, "Oh, he means," and I was like, "I know, we're both listening to the same person."
He was your interpreter.
Yeah.
You didn't need one.
Yeah, and I mean, that was a little discouraging at the beginning, but I'm glad I pushed through that and kind of found my footing. But yeah, I'd say about 30% women towards the end.
What was it like your first time stepping to the table?
Yeah, it's pretty intimidating.
Yeah,
Uh,
my it's kind of like stepping to the lathe.
yeah, I think I had a like blissful ignorance when I used the lathe the first time, but yeah, once you understand the safety aspects, yeah, I have a healthy respect for a table saw.
Yeah, when I because I haven't dusted. So when I first turned on the table saw, it was flying. And I'm like, wow. So maybe for 10 minutes, I looked at it and just stood there
Yeah.
to make sure the blade didn't come off. So I got over that, and it got a little better. But, you know, the table saw is some serious business.
Yeah, it never quite gets too comfortable. But if it does, it's a problem. So
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah.
What part of the process was the most difficult for you to pick up? What was the easiest?
So I think initially the concept of milling was really hard for me to wrap my brain around. And
An umbrella.
I'm sorry.
It's an umbrella.
Yeah, and just a lot of variables. And that's been, I mean, that's a continuous learning process too. It's just different every single time. That was a big, huge learning curve at the beginning. And I think at the same time, what really clicked for me, and I think that's why I ended up, it was kind of a moment where I was like, I really love this, is like wood, like science, basically, like understanding why wood moves the way it does. And once I really grasped that, I felt like it was easier to grasp, like it just having it laid out, and then made a bunch of other things click, like why joinery works this way, and all of that. So yeah, I think that would be it.
What would be your dream build at the moment?
The moment. I'd really like to get, I have a few coffee table designs I really have been wanting to do. And yeah, probably that would be nothing too crazy. Yeah. Some fun concepts.
Is there a particular type of wood at the moment you like working with?
I think it's been walnut for a long time. Yeah, walnut's been really enjoyable for me. It's probably my favorite.
Is there any wood you don't like working with?
Mesquite. When I got out of school, I worked at a sawmill, and Texas woods are just not very forgiving, but mesquite is just not pleasant for me at all.
So talk to us about the sawmill. What were you doing there?
They had a wood shop, so we didn't do anything furniture really. We did glued up like countertops and tabletops, and did like live edge slab stuff. So yeah, lots of finishing, sanding, yeah, gluing. So yeah, they had a 16-inch Tanowitz table saw, and that was not.
Yeah, that's like the one yes. I have a Hartfield 18-inch. Yeah.
Monster, yeah. For going from a saw stop to that, I was like, oh my God. Yeah.
It's like a whole different genre of work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is your favorite machine?
I have the panel router, and I've enjoyed that a lot. There's so much you can do with it, and it kind of challenges you to think outside the box sometimes, and I've really enjoyed that tool.
Okay, now a lot of the lady woodworkers kind of rolling past. They got groups, they got crews. Have you gotten that yet?
Like, so locally there's women I know, and I don't know if I'm necessarily grouped in with anybody online, I guess. I'd like to be. I think that's another thing. I don't put myself out there enough to be grouped in. But I mean, I have talked with Aspen over the internet and, like Katie Thompson, like several people that I really inspire me. And yeah, I don't know if I would be in a group, but I know of all of them.
Now, are there any other women locally?
Yeah, so Leslie Webb, she runs Heartwood Tools, is in Georgetown, which is about an hour north, but is close. And there's a few other women in town that
Okay.
run their own business.
Does that matter to you? Is that comforting to you? Or
So early, early in this, I didn't know of a lot of women in it. So it was really encouraging having that presence. And uh, I appreciate it. I think everybody, it's hard for them to see themselves doing something unless they see a version of themselves doing it. So it's been really inspiring to have that around.
that's a big problem in this country. Because one type of person pushes everything.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think apprenticing, okay, let me, better way to ask this. What are the advantages and disadvantages with apprenticing with Phil? Not him personally, but someone of his staff.
Yeah. I mean, advantages is the way Phil's like brain works is just, I mean, I've learned so much, and the way he approaches things is different often than a traditional way of going about it, but it kind of pushes that way of thinking, like thinking creatively and outside of the box. And I think, that's pushed me the furthest, like realizing that, I'm not limited to this one way of doing something. And the disadvantage would...
Hold on 1 second. How does that affect your life outside of the shop?
So yeah, it's made a huge difference in the way I approach a lot of things. So yeah, it's funny how woodworking is so tied into life lessons. Yeah. So it really has just grown my perspective on a lot of things. And like his dyslexia and the way he's overcome that has been inspiring. Like I struggle with different things, and the fact that he's overcome that and manages to do what he does is also just a constant like source of inspiration. Like he's pushed me creatively, and he's pushed me in ways that it was that really that I was like, man, I want to teach so bad, and I have this crippling anxiety, but if he can get past his his, I don't want to say struggles because it's just a different path. If he can get past those things and work through those things, then I can do this too.
There's always a way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, now disadvantages.
Probably because he's so well known, I feel it's just some pressure to be really good. And he and I, had this, I've struggled to start projects because I'm just like, draw something up and I'm like, it's not good enough. And I never get past that point of, I won't even show him stuff, because I get really just critical of myself. But again, I've been working through that. But yeah, that would definitely be it. It's just, it's intimidating at the same time.
Have you got into Are you doing projects of your own yet? Or not yet?
So I have an easel I'm finishing right now, which would be really the first project I've done like completely my own design and execution. Like Phil's been completely hands off on that, and I appreciate it. Um, and then I have a couple more projects coming up, like kind of lined up. Um, so I'm looking forward to it. It's kind of exciting. I'm almost finished with this, and it's a little more motivating to be like, okay, I can do this.
So how did the process feel from start until, because all of this stuff you know how to do already.
Yeah, I guess like execution is good, and I'm still making mistakes along the way. That's just part of it. Um, I think the hardest thing for me is really just getting past the design point. Again, because I feel it's just, yeah, you're putting yourself out there and, open to critique, and that's what I can't get past often. And uh that's in a way that's helped though, because I'm sitting there just mulling that over so much. By the time I am making it, I'm like, I've done this in my head so many times that it helps a little bit.
Yep. Same. I go through that motion over and over again. And when I get to it, I've went through all the scenarios that I thought.
Right. There's still stuff, but yeah, I get to the point where I'm like dreaming about it. I'm dreaming I'm in the shop and going through all these processes because it's so just present, which can be good and bad, I guess.
Yeah. What inspires you to continue this? What year are you in a,
I think it's about, well, with Phil, 3 years, and then I'm about to be a year full time. So it was part time for a long time, and then a year full time next month.
congrats.
Yeah, it's exciting. Thank you.
So what motivates you? What drives you to continue to do?
Um, well, I mean, for me, seeing my own journey, like when I moved to Austin, I had no clue what I was doing, and just meeting the people I have in this community has been life changing in a bunch of ways, and um, really finding a passion has changed my life. So for me, that's what keeps me going is thinking, at some point maybe I'll be that person that shows that to somebody else.
You
And
will.
it doesn't have to be woodworking. It's just more of an inspiration to be like, I can achieve these things against odds. And yeah, that's what keeps me motivated.
Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
I'd really like to teach, and be, making my own furniture. That's, when I went with Phil, like that's what he wants as well. And yeah, be making my own small furniture. But I think my focus too is on the teaching, and is making this furniture making is not accessible. Like it's really tough to find shop space, find tooling, find the resources. Like I couldn't have afforded a craft school and taken 3 months off of work, at any point. And um, I'm sure if I like pushed myself, but there are people that don't have those opportunities that I've had. And so I'd really like to make some sort of way to make it just more accessible. You can go online and find resources. And I mean, that's how I learned a lot of what I did. I've obviously been very fortunate to have the opportunities I have, and I understand that that's not available to everybody. So yeah, just making things more accessible would be a huge part.
How long has the easel taken you to make?
Gosh, so I started talking with my friend before the pandemic started. And so it's taken a really and just getting the design out took several months because I kept going back and forth with like, I don't like it. And he's been super patient. So
Okay. So you do know you get paid for this, and there's a time and money factor in this, right?
yeah, for sure. This one it's a trade. So a little, and for a friend, so it's a little different, but yeah, moving forward, I recognize I don't have that much time to work with.
But even if you did have that much time, you won't make any money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Definitely not.
And I try to tell the guys in my shop that. And I'm like, listen, every job has a number. That number is a price, and that number is a time, and they have to match.
Mm-hmm.
If the time overlaps the price, then we lose money.
Yeah.
But that's the stuff you learn the hard way.
Yes. I'm glad I can say I'm glad I'm not running my own business right now because it would not work out.
Yeah, it's great if someone puts money in your hand.
Yeah.
And
Right.
money in your hand is not a hobby anymore. It's not fun. It's business.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be fun, but it's business.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
What is the biggest thing you have to overcome?
in life in general, or
Let's go with both. First, let's say in life. Second, let's go to woodwork.
probably both the same thing, is kind of learning to trust myself in what I want to do and the path I want to take. Just learning to trust my intuition and yeah, follow through with it. And yeah, I think that goes into woodworking as well. So
What advice would you give to someone going down your path?
probably don't let I feel like I hit I struggled at the very beginning, and um when people say like woodworking's therapy, it's sometimes therapy doesn't feel good, so you kind of have to push. Yeah, it's don't let like difficulty deter you from following through with it, because it's an important part of it. If it wasn't challenging, I don't think it would be worth it.
And everybody be doing.
Mhm.
What did you find to be the most difficult?
Um, do you mean the most difficult?
Like what during the process? What was the biggest challenge?
Uh, I guess maybe just fully committing to it, even being like, this is what I'm going to do. At the same time, it felt like a very confident decision, but yeah, revolving your whole life around something is a big commitment.
Big.
I'm glad I did it. Yeah.
Is there anything that you, is there anything in the future that you dream of building that you want to
Um, yeah, I'd really like, I guess, yeah, beyond the coffee tables and stuff, I'd really like to do some really nice, like wall cabinets and kind of, um, yeah, different kinds of cabinets, explore that a bit. I don't know if I have one specific like goal in mind, but yeah, some really elaborate. I really enjoy parquetry, and it'd be fun to do some veneering and cabinet work like that, and really explore that more artistic side of it.
Yep. Cool. So how long did you work in the lumber yard?
About 10 months, I think. Yeah.
And you were taking rough sawing stuff and milling it down to usable timbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
How is that different than what you do now?
That was a lot more labor intensive just because of the size. And um, yeah, I mean, just large. I mean, we worked on a 20-foot long like slab at some point. So it's just really yeah, a lot more labor intensive, and it was a lot of the same kind of process, but there's things you have to kind of keep in mind when you're working with huge pieces of wood like that, that there's a I wouldn't say more tolerance in like the furniture making, but it's just a completely different approach to it. Even milling is different with something that large.
Right. How many days a week, how many hours a day do you work?
So right now with Phil, it's an hour commute either way to and from work. So since it's 2 hours of driving a day, I do 4 10-hour days.
Okay. Now, do you do any other work outside of that?
So Austin School Furniture here in town is reopening again. So I was, before the pandemic happened, I was assisting classes, and we'll be opening soon again. So I'll be back to assisting and kind of helping out at the shop there.
Okay. And when does that start?
I believe October is when our first classes start.
And what classes will you be?
We do a fundamentals class, and so it's just you build a Japanese toolbox and a set of sawhorses, but it's really a beginner class. So you get to use every tool multiple times, learn mortise and tenon and rabbets and just real standard basic joinery. But yeah, it's a 10-week course, and it's really you just dive in. So it's a pretty good course. And then I was assisting classes for guest teachers before. So Matt Kenny taught a box making class, and I assisted that one. And yeah, just various. I kind of was filling in wherever.
How much do you turn?
I have not touched a lathe since then. Honestly, I'd like to get back into it. I liked it. But,
And your dad's a woodworker. What's the relationship with
relationship, or what does he do, or
Yeah, I mean, do you go help him out? Do you all hang out in the wood shop?
no, so um well, he wasn't doing it professionally. It's kind of, well, it was like after work. He works for the airport, so right now he's trying to retire so he can open his shop back up again. So honestly, I haven't worked with him since he showed me that at the very beginning of my journey. And I mean, someday I'd like to work on a project with him, and yeah.
And does he know what you're doing?
He does. I think he thought I was a little crazy for like jumping into school and stuff. And my first like nice project, I built an end table in school, and I gave it to him, and he was like, "Oh wow, you actually really do do want to do this." Yeah. But yeah, he has visited. He lives in Dallas, so he's visited when we have like events with the school, and he's trying to get back into it. So yeah, we
Signing?
aren't super close, but
Yeah. Yeah. Um, is there anything that I did not cover that you want to talk about?
Gosh, I don't know. You've asked so many good questions. I don't know if I can think of anything else. Yeah, that's been a really
Are
good
there
question.
any questions for the people out there?
Yeah.
So, and I was chatting with Women of Woodworking, and she said you're gonna go on, which is good.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was this is the first live interview I've done, and it was pretty I kept waking myself up thinking I was gonna sleep through the start of it. I get really, but I get super nervous, and I was avoiding her for a little bit too because I think she had brought it up at some point. I was like, I'm just gonna do it. I need to get over it.
Yes, we talked about it last year.
Right, yeah. I
So
had to like psych myself out. But
so
good.
how was it?
It was good. Yeah, I really
Pretty
liked what
harmless, right?
it was good. You do a good job.
Thank you. And you've done a good job as well. And it's important to put yourself out there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Progress on the consoles, new ideas.
Oh, for Phil, the record consoles, I've been doing a lot of edge banding and sanding and finishing. So they're going pretty well, and I think, I mean, I don't want to give a date on it, but yeah, Phil's got about 16 chairs dining chairs he's trying to get out of the shop too at the same time. So yeah, we're getting there though. It's moving along pretty well. And new ideas. Yeah, but I have a couple projects coming up I'm pretty excited about, but I'll share those soon.
In due time. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, this is great.
I appreciate your time. I appreciate your effort. I appreciate your willingness to make sure we got this right.
Yes. Sorry about my Wi-Fi situation. I'm glad we worked it out.
Now you know for the next one.
Reset the router.
Yep, fresh Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
All right, man. It was an absolute pleasure, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one. This is going to be on the page and also be on YouTube.
Oh, great. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good one.